Hey, so let's talk about something we all do, but maybe feel a little weird about talking to ourselves, right? That little voice in your head, the one that's always on. Whether you're saying it out loud or just thinking it, it's a huge part of being human. So, what's the deal with it? What's the science behind our own inner monologue? I mean, it starts the second your alarm goes off, doesn't it? That groggy thought, maybe you mutter it under your breath. Before your feet have even hit the floor, you're already in a conversation with yourself about the day. And it just keeps going. Even in the most boring moments, you're brushing your teeth, you catch a glimpse of yourself in the mirror, and bam, you're having a full-on silent debate about your hair or what you need to do today. And then, of course, there are those moments. Pure frustration. You can't find your keys, you're late, and you just blurt it out right as your roommate walks into the kitchen. Ugh, that feeling, that sudden wave of embarrassment, we've all been there. So all of this brings us to the big question. Is it, normal to talk to yourself? I think we can all agree it feels super awkward when you get caught. There's this stigma that maybe it's a sign that something's a little off, right? Well, let's just go ahead and bust that myth wide open right here, right now. Because when you ask scientists and psychologists that question, the answer is a very, very clear yes. In fact, decades of research in psychology show that talking to yourself, either out loud or in your head, isn't just some weird quirk. It's a totally normal human behavior. It's actually a core feature of how our brains are wired to work. Seriously, the estimates are that pretty much all of us, like 99.9%, do some form of self-talk every single day. So no, you are definitely not alone in narrating your own life. Okay, so if we all do it, what do psychologists actually mean when they use the term self-talk? Let's get a little more specific about what that voice inside our head really is. So here's the key. Self-talk isn't just, say, remembering a fact or picturing an image in your mind. It's the verbal part. It's that narration you direct at yourself about what's going on. Thinking, okay, I really need to get my form right on this lift, or, the grocery store is packed, I'll just go tomorrow. That's self-talk. So, where did this voice even come from? Well, a psychologist named Lev Vygotsky had this amazing theory. He noticed that little kids talk to themselves out loud all the time when they're playing. He figured this is actually how they learn to guide themselves, by basically repeating and internalizing the instructions they've heard from parents and teachers. And then over time, that out loud chatter just goes inside. It becomes our own private inner dialogue as adults. Pretty cool, right? And that inner dialogue is so useful. Think about it. We use it to map out our day, to reason our way through a tricky situation, to pump ourselves up before a big meeting, or to calm down when we're feeling anxious. It's like our brain's built-in multi-tool. Okay, now this is where things get really interesting. Because it turns out it's not just that we talk to ourselves that matters so much, it's what we're saying. That inner voice can be your biggest cheerleader or your absolute harshest critic. So just think of it like there are two different voices in there. On one hand, you've got the inner coach. This voice is helpful, it's instructional, it's motivational. It guides you, it builds you up, and research shows it can even make you more accurate at what you're doing. But then, you've got the inner critic, and that voice is toxic, it's blaming, it gets stuck on repeat, and high levels of that kind of negative self-talk are actually linked to things like anxiety and can make feelings of depression way worse. And this isn't just some abstract idea, they've seen it in action. For example, there was this one study with college tennis players. Researchers found that when the players started using instructional self-talk during practice, telling themselves things like bend your knees or keep your eye on the ball, their focus and their accuracy literally got better. It's a real measurable difference. So here's the really good news. This whole inner monologue thing isn't just something that happens to us. Nope. We can actually train our inner coach and learn to manage that inner critic. So let's talk about how to take back control of the conversation. All right, one of the coolest and simplest techniques is something called distanced self-talk. It's a tiny shift in how you talk to yourself that can make a massive difference when you're feeling stressed. So the way most of us try to pump ourselves up is in the first person, right? I can do this, I've got this, and that's fine, but it can also kind of keep you stuck right in the middle of all those intense feelings. Now, check out the distanced way. Instead of I, you use your own name or you use you. So instead of I am prepared, you literally say to yourself, Sarah, you are prepared for this.
That tiny little change creates what psychologists call psychological distance. It helps you step back from your emotions and regulate them, almost like you're giving advice to a friend who just happens to be you.
And listen, this isn't just some neat little party trick. It's backed by science. Studies have shown that using this distance self-talk is super effective for lowering stress during things that make us all anxious, like giving a speech or walking into a party where you don't know anyone.
Now, if you want a more structured approach, you can borrow a technique from cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT. It's a three-step process. First, you just learn to notice when you're stuck in a negative thought loop. Second, you challenge it. You ask yourself, hey, is that thought actually true? Is it even helpful? And third, you consciously replace that harsh thought with something a bit more neutral or even kind. Over time, doing this can actually help rewire that negative habit.
All right, so let's zoom out. What's the big takeaway from all of this? What does it all mean? The bottom line is really simple. That voice in your head, it's not going anywhere. It's your constant companion. It's a partner you're going to have for the rest of your life. The only thing you really have control over is what kind of partner it's going to be. I mean, the relationship you have with yourself is literally the longest and most important one you will ever have. So the next time you hear that inner conversation start up, just try to make it a kind one, a supportive one. And that's really the final thought I want to leave you with. The next time that little voice pipes up, what are you going to choose to say?